Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Juicy. We're going to be doing our LSU versus Army preview here this week. So, without further ado, let me introduce everybody to my co-host, Juicy. How you doing today, Juicy?
Oh, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good myself here. So, Juicy, we got a lot to talk about here today, so let's get right down into it. LSU is taking on Army. Army so far this year is 2-4. Their ELO so far this year is 109, and the game is kicking off at 7:30 in Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge on the SEC network. So that is something we have to look forward to. But before we start talking about Army and all them, let's go back a little bit with LSU and Auburn. LSU jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and they dominated Auburn 48-18 here. So Juicy, what was some things that you thought that you saw was big for LSU in that game?
Well, like I was saying earlier, I think the takeaways, the execution on defense. One of the big things I saw was the defensive line play was much better than it has been. But I think that's with the addition of uh, Pete Jenkins, but Jay Daniels continued to shine, of course, making a strong case for the Heisman. But overall, I think LSU. I think that was much better than it has been these past few weeks before this.
So I know you mentioned the Heisman. I don't think Jaden Daniels is gonna win it because it's so heavily on wins. If LSU was 6-1 right now, he would probably have a lot better shot here. But them being 5-2 right now, it's not gonna really help his case too much for the Heisman Trophy, unfortunately. But okay, flipping into the good news here, they announced that uh, Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors were both named to the midseason All-American list, so that is congratulations to them. Jaden Daniels is the only LSU quarterback to have over 5,000 yards passing, so good for him as well there too. I mean, it looks good, right? Good resume for him to potentially win the Heisman Trophy. I think he needs to be a finalist. I think he should be there. Will they put him there? Is another question here, but if LSU comes on strong late in the season here, they might have a really good chance to actually like maybe run the table here and actually get up there. This Army game, this Army, this Army game will definitely be a tune-in game, like a tune-up game before they get into that game on the road against Alabama. Alabama is their last road game they have for the year. It's gonna be in Tuscaloosa this year. So if LSU can pull off an upset against Alabama, they they're going to be sitting in the catbird seat because the only loss they have in the West is to Ole Miss. And Ole Miss lost to Alabama, but I think Ole Miss would still be ahead here in regards to that. So if we look here, looking at Ole Miss and their remaining schedule here, this ought to be interesting here to see. Let's look at all this real quick here as I pull up Ole Miss's schedule here so we can see what their remaining schedule is looking like here. So Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, at Georgia, ULM, and at Mississippi State. So they also playing Auburn this week. So Auburn might be LSU's favorite um, team going ahead here. Now they did have a hard time against Arkansas. They won 27-20. It was a close game for them. They lost to Alabama. So they beat LSU 55-49, but that's when LSU's defense had a meltdown. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they play against Auburn and how that outcome becomes. But I'm that November 11th game is going to be a pivotal game for Ole Miss and at Georgia. It's going to be at Georgia and Georgia as well because they're still trying to they're still trying to stay undefeated and not have any losses coming up here. So that's something that LSU fans want to have on the radar whenever they're looking at future games in regards to that to see how LSU's SEC West prowess is going to come out to be. But
Beatable. Alabama's beatable because they struggle against Arkansas.
yeah,
Really.
Alabama is not the Alabama of old. I've been saying that this whole entire year. They are not the same team. They looked a little bit better last week here. Like played the probably the most complete game they have of the year, but it's about consistency. Can you do it week in and week out? That's what I'm looking at here. Can you beat somebody 65 to nothing, like you should beat them that way. A team that you should beat that way, can you beat them 65 to nothing? Then follow it up with the same kind of performance. And even though that team that you might play the next week might be better, you kind of keep the same kind of efficiency in your offense going or efficiency on your defense side of the ball. That is what makes a good ball club. Doing the fundamentals is the most important thing for any football team to actually do, like tackling. Tackling, like I know we kind of laugh about it, like, oh, tackling is so easy to run into somebody and wrap up with your arm and wrap their legs up and tackle, right? It's a lot easier said than done.
In
So,
my actually that is actually play football.
yeah. So with LSU losing 2 games here, do you think they're out of the playoff this year, Juicy? If they beat Alabama?
Mm, do I think Alabama's out?
No, if LSU beats Alabama, do you think they have a shot?
Do I think LSU has a shot?
Yeah.
Uh, if it was a 12-team playoff like next year, I would say yeah. But this year, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna throw the question out there in case somebody has some kind of hypothetical response here. I think even if LSU wins out, be very tough with 2 losses to get in there, barring some major upsets at the top. The way you would probably make that case is the best thing for LSU would be for Georgia to remain undefeated in that regard for a playoff push, right? Because they had, like, if Georgia would remain undefeated in the SEC championship game, LSU got on a run and win Army, Alabama, Florida, Georgia State, and Texas A&M. They go through the rest of their schedule and they win all those games here, and they would beat Georgia.
And they do have conference championships though too. So
Yeah, that would, LSU be the SEC champion, which I still think they would put Georgia in over LSU. Just saying it's one game. You know, Georgia almost gets the benefit of the doubt. They're basically Alabama. They're the new Alabama. That's what you can basically compare them to. Even though they don't have as much of a reign as Alabama so far, it's so hard to three-peat. I don't. It's gonna be it's
they're,
so hard to three-peat.
no, I just don't think LSU nor Alabama probably has a chance at a playoff because I think there's too many good teams in the top 10. Hell, I think there's some teams that are gonna get screwed out of the playoffs who should be in there because I think it's just that many teams.
Because I mean, we got a good slate of games that we're gonna pick for the top 25 when we get down to that point here. But uh, do you see?
So this year,
Let,
I'm
let before we go into that conversation, let's pick LSU and Army. I got LSU winning this game. It shouldn't even be close. Who you got, Juicy?
yeah, I got LSU. It should be even worse for Army than it was for Auburn last week.
All right. So if you're going to the LSU football game this weekend, okay, this is the only time I'm gonna say this. Maybe if they play Navy, in the future or whatever. I don't know when they play Navy again or even Air Force. Those guys are putting on a uniform. They're willing to do the ultimate sacrifice to protect our country. And the last thing we should do as a country and a fan base would be to boo those guys when they walk out in the field. That is something that we should not do. We should not uh boo them, you know. That's one thing. What you think, Juicy?
I agree. I believe we should not
Yeah,
do
that
them at all.
that they should be cheered for everywhere. Like if the LSU makes a good play, cheer for them. Obviously pull for LSU, but like don't go so ham on Army. Just kick back and relax.
That's like talking to a brick wall, bro. You know.
Yeah, there's gonna be some people in there that's gonna boo him, and they deserve to stink face basically because like, what are you doing? Like, you go try to do what them guys are doing out there, not playing football. Like that football is the furthest thing on their mind. This is basically just like, they're willing to make ultimate sacrifice, and like, it's just kind of appalling that people would actually do that kind of thing. But they deserve our respect. We should give it to them. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think LSU's going to beat Army, but it's going to be a surreal experience for them to go walk in the Tiger Stadium and see 100,000 people in there. So that's what I got to say about that. And then LSU gets a bye week next week, so before they take on Alabama. So we'll see what happens with all that there. So in other news, LSU women's basketball, first time in program history they've ever been ranked number one in the preseason poll here. They have an exhibition game that they will be playing against East Texas Baptist in the Pete Maravich Center on October 26th. I think LSU is going to win it. They are loaded, like everywhere on their roster. Their first official game is, November the 6th against Colorado, which is a top 20 matchup. It will be in Las Vegas. LSU's home opener, that's not an exhibition game, will be Queens. That will be November 9th. So, we'll go through this before again and just kind of check out and see where we think their season. We'll do a season preview on both the men and the women's and kind of combine it together and see how that goes. Now, speaking of the men, on the flip side, they start their season on November the 6th at home in the Pete Maravich Center, November the 6th against Mississippi Valley State. But if you want to catch the men in action before that, they are playing an exhibition game against Louisiana Christian. That game is going to be on October the 30th on a Monday. So if you're in around the arena or anywhere near there, you can go check them out if you want. They don't, and then they go. I think they have Nichols right after that. So yeah, November 10th they do play Nichols. So we'll next week sometime we should be doing reviews on the opening of these basketball seasons and see where they all go and see how that goes here. I'm expecting big thing out of LSU women's basketball. Do they have a shot to repeat? Looking at this schedule, it's looking pretty good so far. They're gonna get some challenge from early season challenge Virginia and Virginia Tech. That out of conference rating whew, is definitely going to go up for sure. Excuse me there. Then they start conference play on January 4th. And, they're going to play the SEC gauntlet here until we get to that point here. So it will be fun to see how all this goes here. Reminder LSU women's basketball, their first exhibition is October 26th against East Texas Baptist. So that's something to look forward to. LSU men's basketball, their first one is October 30th. So we'll see what happens here. But Army hasn't been doing that well this year. Getting back to football, they're 2-4. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. Army opened the season with a loss to ULM on the road. They went back home to West Point to take on Delaware State. They won that one convincingly. They played UTSA. They ended up beating them. That's their biggest win of the year. They lost to Syracuse, lost to Boston College, and they lost to Troy. I think they'll add another loss to their record when they play LSU at home, but we'll see what happens. For the rest of Army's schedule, they play UMass. They go on the road to take on Air Force. Holy Cross is right after that, Coastal Carolina. Then, of course, Army versus Navy.
The big one at the end of the year every year. I
Yep.
think Army. Who's on? Somebody's on like a 7 game win streak.
It's something like that. But without further ado here, let's pick some top 25 football games. What'd you say, Juicy?
Let's do it.
I think this is your favorite part of the show, isn't it?
I think so, but I think everybody is. I think that's everybody's favorite part of the show. I'm
Yeah.
not picking.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, every time I pick these predicting the future is hard. So we'll see what happens. Number two, Michigan at Michigan State, 7:30 on NBC. Um, I got Michigan winning this one. Who you got, Juicy?
I have Michigan as well. Wolverine, Johnson.
All right, a big one at noon on Fox. Number three, Ohio State taking on number seven, Penn State here. Ohio State has looked a little sus this year, man. So, are they gonna show up in the big lights, right? This is a big game, top 10 matchup. A lot on the line here. So, give me Penn State. I think they pulled the upset. Who you got, Juicy?
To go with Penn State as well.
Okay, number four, Florida State versus Duke. Number 16, Duke. Excuse me, but man, dude, that's crazy. Like Duke is a whole different team. This could be a scary one for Florida State. Um, I, I'm thinking that one of these top five teams are gonna lose this week. That's my prediction here. I already got Ohio State losing against Penn State. I'm very tempted to pull another one here. I think what Jordan Travis and what Florida State's doing, I think they find a way to win it late. Who you got, Juicy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Florida State in a close game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Duke won. But I'm just gonna think Florida State stays undefeated.
I think they just find a way to win it. That's gonna be one I'm really gonna be interested in watching. Number five, Washington versus Arizona State. Give me Washington. I mean, I was wrong about them beating Oregon. I thought it was gonna be a close game, and it didn't work out for Oregon. But give me Washington. I think they got them winning against the Arizona State. I think they'll pick up the win.
Yeah, I got Washington as well.
Number six, Oklahoma versus UCF. I got Oklahoma, dude. Who you got?
Yeah, Boomer Sooner.
Number eight, Texas at Houston. And all I gotta say is, hook 'em horns. Texas beats Houston.
Yeah, Hook of Horn. I agree with you on that one.
All right. Number nine, Oregon versus Washington State. Give me Oregon. As much as I would love Washington State to like make a statement and beat Oregon, I don't think it's gonna happen. But give me Oregon.
Yeah, after Washington State took an absolute beating by Arizona last weekend, I'm definitely going with Oregon after Washington State lost Arizona 44-6.
Yeah. North Carolina, number 10, North Carolina versus Virginia. I got North Carolina winning this one. They should put the handle business against Virginia. Who you got, Juicy? Juicy, you got your pick?
Yeah, North Carolina stays undefeated.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you. Number 11, Alabama versus number 17, Tennessee. Um, this one's interesting here. Tennessee's not what they were last year. Give me the Crimson Tide. I think they take care of business. Who you got, Juicy?
Uh, Alabama.
All right. You were struggling with that one, huh?
I was, I said, Alabama. That's all.
Number 13, Ole Miss at Auburn. Give me the Rebels. I think they take care of business against Auburn.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna go with
All right. Number 14, Utah at number 18, Southern Cal. USC don't have no defense. So Utah's got a pretty decent offense. I think they'll get the job done. Give me the Utah Utes. I think they knock off the Trojans. Who you got, Juicy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the USC certainly had a Caleb Williams had a rough day against Notre Dame last week.
Yeah, sure enough did.
Definitely home. Sure.
Number 20, Missouri versus South Carolina. Given Missouri, I've been impressed with their offense so far this year. Who you got, Juicy?
I like Missouri as well. They only have that one loss to Alabama.
They're definitely a player in the East for sure. So, I mean, if who knows, man? You never know. Number t
Oh, uh,
number 22, Air Force at Navy. I got Air Force winning this one. Who you got, Juicy?
give me the Air Force factor.
All right. Let's see here. Number 23, Tulane taking on North Texas. Give me the green wave. Who you got, Juicy?
Yeah, I'm gonna have the Green Wave. This game will be close.
And you know what's interesting about Missouri though too? They're playing Georgia next week. That is something that's
Ooh,
gonna be,
that'll be a fun.
yeah. That one's gonna decide a lot of things. Number 24, Iowa versus Minnesota. Give me Iowa. I think they take care of business against Minnesota. Who you got, Juicy? Juicy, who you got against Iowa and Minnesota?
Oh, hello,
Hey, what's up?
hello.
You got me, Juicy? Or you muted me or something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. What's up? Do you hear me?
Oh, I got Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Number
I
25,
got
UC
Iowa.
Okay. Number 25, UCLA at Stanford. Who you got in this game?
I'm gonna go with. My phone. Let me pull up the line here. My phone's running a little crazy. Let's see. I'm gonna go with the Bruins. I like the Bruins, even though Stanford surprised me. Heck yeah, I like the Bruins.
I I got UCLA winning this one. I think they'll take care of business against Stanford. It's gonna be a very late game, a 10:30 game. So we'll see what happens here and see how that goes out here. So we will see what happens here. So far last week, did we see any significant upsets? Not really, except for Notre Dame. Pitt beat Louisville last week. So, I mean, it was, and Washington State got drilled by Arizona. That's another one. Oklahoma State beat Kansas, and Missouri beat Kentucky. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here. I think this will be a very good, you know, week of college football. Should be. You kind of wonder who's going to be getting the upset pulled and who isn't. So, we'll see what happens around the corner. Anything you want to say just before we get off here?
I think that's it, but
All right. Thank y'all for tuning into the Fishbowl Radio. Hope you have a great and wonderful day. We will see y'all next time here on the Fishbowl Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.